You have to dominate. If you don't dominate, you're wasting your time. They're going to run over you. You're going to look like a bunch of jerks. You have to dominate. And most of you are weak. We're going to clamp down very, very strong. But you got to arrest people. You have to try people. You have to put them in jail for 10 years, and you'll never see this stuff again.
President Trump on a conference call with the nation's governors yesterday, urging a stronger, and some argue a more dangerous, response to protests following the death of George Floyd. Joining us from Chicago, the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. Governor, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We heard a bit of your exchange with the president, pushing back a little bit, read about it. Can you explain to us what you were hoping he would hear?
Well, I think the president doesn't understand that his rhetoric is making things worse. And if it's not that he doesn't understand, it's that, by calling governors jerks for not dominating our cities across our state, he's calling us out in ways that just make things much worse. So I just felt like after listening to him rant, I had to say something. And what I wanted him to do was to recognize that he needs instead to be calling for calm, that he needs to be calling for a united country. I realize that it's a long shot to get this president to do that, but I thought it was very important at this moment.
So explain, if you could, he is known to watch under more calm circumstances, but explain, if you could, exactly how it makes things worse, how his words incite or anger, and what it is they're actually causing.
Well, remember, there are legitimate peaceful protesters out there, legitimate grievances, concerns that have to be addressed around police accountability, around investment in black and brown communities. And this president could have said something to that. But instead, he goes completely to the other end. He is focusing on the very few protesters out there that are causing violence and property damage. And we're trying to deal with those. There's no doubt about it. We need to put down those folks, but we need to hear the voices of black and brown communities and all the protesters that were out there, again, who are standing up for their rights.
Willie.
Governor, it's Willie Geist. Good to have you on the show this morning. The president talked yesterday about invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807, which would allow him to put military troops in the streets of cities like your own. But governors would have to be consulted on that. Has the federal government reached out to you about the possibility of the United States military being in the streets of, say, Chicago?
No, and I would reject that. He does not have the ability to send troops in without being called on by the states to do it. I don't know any governor that's going to call on the federal government and federal troops to enter their state. We don't need that. We have our National Guard backing up, supporting local law enforcement. We have our state police supporting local law enforcement. And this is going to take a couple of days. There's no doubt about it. But last night, there was a big, beautiful, peaceful protest that took place. And each night there has been, although, again, there have been roving elements of people who are just looking to cause damage, some of it in a very organized fashion. And we need help from the federal government to put it down. One thing I'll point out to you is that I had a conversation with the FBI yesterday and asked them, well, who's responsible? Are there organized elements out there that are political in nature? And they basically said, no, we do not have that going on in Illinois. And so, rather than echoing what the president says about Antifa, what they're saying is that these are people looking to loot, looking to profit organized crime, essentially.
So it's fair to say, Governor, you think you have things under control in the state of Illinois without the United States military coming in terms of controlling the looters, controlling the rioters, separate from those peaceful protesters?
Well, we're working on making sure we have control, but the fact is we do not want or need federal troops entering our state. Remember, this is a state that holds the values of freedom, of standing up for people's rights, civil rights in particular, very close to our hearts. We're the land of Lincoln, the land of Barack Obama, the land of Ulysses S. Grant. We can overcome these challenges. There is a call for calm going on by our clergy today, and I really believe that we can bring bring down the temperature, but not when the president of the United States is standing up calling for troops and, and demanding law and order and domination.
Jonathan Lemire.
Governor, as you know, the president had said that if governors like yourself don't do enough, don't fully utilize the National Guard, don't crack down these protests, he would send the military. I know you just said you don't want it. And as of last night, according to our reporting, there is no governor in the nation who has requested that help from Washington. But let me ask you this. Do you have a mechanism in place to perhaps fight this legally if the president does insist that he will send troops to, say, Chicago? Are you confident in your ability to win that? What sort of obstacles will you try to put up? What is that conversation going to look like? The president seemed very strident yesterday. This is something he wanted to do.
Well, beginning with my governor's office general counsel and going to our attorney general, there's no doubt that we would fight this in court if we needed to. The president is known, as you know well, for calling out these things, saying he's going to do something that's completely not within his power. And my hope is that he won't try to extend beyond his own limits of power. But if he does, we will fight him and we will take it to federal court.
All right, Governor J.B. Pritzker, thank you very much. We hope it doesn't go there.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.